The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. And they ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm about wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow hosts, Steve Johnson, Chris Sanders. What's good, fellas?
Not much, man. Here after a weekend full of boxing.
Yeah, we had the fight. We had the fight of the year finally in boxing.
Some people before it happened was calling it the fight of the decade, possibly, but you know, we'll get into things. How's your weekend, man?
It's been busy. It's been busy. You know, from football, watching football, getting into tack, just all types of sports, college football, then family events. Then we had a big boxing match on Saturday. It's been busy, nonstop.
Yeah, our Cowboys were looking a little shaky that Russ Wilson going Hail Marys and was able to edge it out. So that's always a good thing. A win's a win, right?
We'll take a dub as we can get it.
And Steve, I know you work on the weekend. Anything else interesting?
Nothing much, man. Pretty much all my excitement for the weekend was towards, the fight that I was looking forward. Made sure I set up enough time to watch what I wanted to. I got a little bit of UFC in watching that, but stay focused pretty much when it got closer to the fight.
For sure. Like I said on last show, sports is in full effect. Football, basketball is right around the corner. And combat, baseball, can't forget about baseball, about to enter the playoffs with that. And, combat sports is year round. And a lot of the show is going to be used to talk about the fights and all surroundings and aftermath and whatnot. But there are a few stories in the news that I wanted to touch on before we talk about.
Wait, hold on. We're not going to slide past this. Where were you at this weekend?
I was at the fight, the Vegas. We'll get it. We'll get into that. We got to build up. All right, just making sure. I forget about that, but yeah. Before we get into like the big fight and me being out there and all of that, just want to hit on a couple of news stories. Some even pertaining towards the fight weekend, but. September 14th, Ricky Hatton found dead at 46. Former welterweight champion. A lot of people know him for the big fight he had with Floyd Mayweather. I think it was back in 2007. But yeah, I just want to say RIP Ricky Hatton. Any of y'all two have any memories of Ricky Hatton?
I mean, he was tough, man. He was a tough fighter. At that time before meeting Floyd, I don't think anybody was. He was undefeated, right? Was he undefeated? I don't think he had any losses. Fighting Pretty Boy at that time.
I can't quite remember his record, but he ran into Floyd, and that took. I think that was a fight that kind of took Floyd to the next level as well, as into super. A prime fighter, someone that you really want to watch. Because at that time, I don't think Floyd would fight anybody that was really well named. Yeah, he was indeed undefeated going into that Floyd fight. He got good memory. I would have never remembered that. But yeah. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, pretty much. Known he was a highlight fighter as far as before he met Floyd, but his popularity to me came from that Floyd Mayweather beating. So not to say he wasn't a great fighter, but I guess boxers help each other, in some type of way. I still remember him. Saw a few of his highlights before. Like I said, no, he's a great fighter, but known him more for the Mayweather fight.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what you two just said, tough fighter, gritty fighter, undefeated, and like Chris pointed out before that, this was like Floyd's first big fight being the A side of things, because it was of course the Golden Boy fight put him on the map against Oscar De La Hoya. That put him, but he was still a B side on that. De La Hoya was the one bringing in all the eyes, and that's probably like the last time I can remember like somebody literally giving somebody the rub and almost like absorbing his powers directly as a cause of that. Because after that, Floyd was pretty much a household name after that, and his first big fight being the A side of things was the Ricky Hatton fight. So I think Ricky Hatton has that as a place in history, and gone too soon. And I don't know if there's any details surrounding his passing, but I'm sure we'll find out in the future. So RIP to Ricky Hatton. Before we get into this past weekend's festivities, at the fight, I don't know if y'all saw this. Two guys squared off against each other. It's not set in stone, but did y'all see Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz facing off?
Yeah, I saw that.
Do y'all think this fight will actually happen? I'll let you kick it off, Chris.
It might. I think it's a bigger possibility to happen now than it would have 3 years ago. So I think this right now, they're still big names. Those two guys can fight, and I don't think either of them have a belt at the time, right? So this would just be a regular fight. I don't think Luis has a belt. So I think it'll be a fight, just a regular fight. But I think it's a good fight.
What about you, Steve? Well, go ahead, Chris. I mean,
because if I'm not mistaken, Joshua retired, right? Joshua's retired.
I don't know if he officially retired.
Okay.
Because I think even because I know Fury, I know he retired, but I think he unretired because he's supposed to be fighting our guy again, and he's supposed to be rematching the heavyweight champ in March.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I don't know. What do you think this fight actually happens, Steve?
I can see it happening, and I know Andy Ruiz. He's been fighting in between now and since we known him to knock out Anthony Joshua, but we haven't heard his name in a while as far as since that big win. And saying that, I'm not sure if he's won in between now or lost on the downside. But if we can't get Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, I guess we can get second best, fight the person. And Deontay still fighting relevant people, Andy Ruiz, somebody who beat Anthony Joshua. So I think it's still a ear ringer of a fight, and people would like to still be gravitated to watch it. I am.
So the undisputed heavyweight champ, Alexander Usyk, he's kind of made that heavyweight division in a weird space, because kind of like a monopoly, and I don't know if like in a good way, because if these two fought, we know like they probably won't be fighting for a title after that. It's like he's so much better than everybody. It's like, you can't get really excited for some of these fights that would be contender fights in yesteryear. Sometimes these fighters are fighting each other too late. So that's another question. Y'all think this fight may be a few years too late?
Yeah, like I said, this was supposed to be 3 years ago. This fight when he won the belts. I don't know how I feel about the rematches as much as other people want to see the rematches after someone loses their belt. I don't know how happy I am about those. I think you should just go out and fight other fighters so we can see, other things happen. But the rematch happened. He lost the belt. But yeah, I think this should have happened like 3 years ago. I think he should have fought Joshua, then he should have fought him, and then just kept fighting everybody. That's what we want to see as fighters. We don't want to see them keep fighting each other. We want to see them fight each and every fighter that they can. So it's one of them.
I think it's situational as far as like the rematches. I believe I'm with you. A lot of times I just want to see them do other fights. But if they were like dominant 5, 6, 7 year champion with the championship, and they lost closely, then I don't mind a rematch if it's a close fight. But if they got washed, even if they're a long-time champion, especially if you get knocked out, I'm like, maybe you should take another fight before, even though you were a dominant champion. So I'm with you in like most circumstances. But yeah, Steve, what you think this might be happening a little bit too late if they do make this happen?
Yeah, and considering where Deontay's been on the downfall, at least for him, retrospect, he should have, might as well took that fight while their names were still big and didn't have so many losses in a row. But like I said, I think it's still, I would say, profitable to watch. But definitely 3 years too late.
Yeah, I'm sure if they do make it happen, people will still be watching. I don't know I can't remember what promoters both of those guys are signed to. Hopefully they would make it like on network TV and just get, because if you have that for free, I think a lot of people will tune into that.
Definitely.
More so than trying to make it a pay-per-view at this point in both guys' careers. So, if they make it out, I won't be mad at it and I'll be watching. But like Chris said, probably 3-4 years too late, but better late than never, right?
It's a fact.
So before we do get into the super fight this past weekend, a guy's fight kind of got buried in the happenings of this weekend, but dominant champion, pound for pound list, Naoya Inoue defeated Merjan Akhmadaliev and retained the WBA super belt, the WBC, IBF, WBO, the ring, still the undisputed champ there at super bantamweight. And Inoue looked good as always. He looked the quicker fighter. And when Akhmadaliev, when he was trying to piece together stuff, Inoue just had a response and answered back. But for the most part, Inoue was on the attack and looked dominant as usual. What were your thoughts on this one, Chris?
He was just dominant, like he always is. He showed that he can get touch. I always said that about him. He can get touch. What weight class they fight at again?
122, super bantamweight.
He can get touch. There was some times where he was getting, I was like, where's your defense at? He's so very offensive talented that sometimes defense becomes lack, but he uses the offense to become defense, which is a good strategy as well. But he can be touched. So my arguments are always like, we want to see him kind of go up in weight, right? That's how it looks like the legacies are being made nowadays. People are going up from different classes. That's what we're seeing. So on that note, to see him go up to the next level or maybe 2 more levels up with that type of defense and just keeping it offense, I don't know how that's going to transition. But, he's a good fighter. Thought it was a good fight.
Steve?
Definitely. And far as who his opponent was, I guess stood his ground. Like he didn't, as far as assert his dominance, like y'all said, off his offense to actually get major respect and hurt somebody. The dude he was fighting kept on in his face, and we usually be seeing a knockout from Inoue, but he had a fighter that was able to stay in his face, but also Inoue was able to maintain his offensive dominance. But like Chris said, you get to a certain spot or height or weight, and you use your offense as a defense in the higher weights, and you don't sting somebody as well. You leave yourself open for a face shot, which sometimes we do see and we get hit in his weight class now. And if there's somebody stronger or has talent like him, knockout power, it might be the knockdown or KO. So as we see in fashion, he gets another win. But to extend legacy, if you're dominating that whole weight class, I would say you would have to go up a weight class.
Yeah, is he being complacent right now, just being dominant at super bantamweight? You think it's time for him to start going up, Chris? Because right now he's basically number 2 on most pound for pound list right now. So
it's time for him to go up. I don't really know the fighters in bantamweight as much. Like they're not really name brand like that, but like besides him. So he's the one that brings the draw. He's the one that brings all the eyes to the fight, which is good. But I think for him and the legacy right now, as boxing moving, is not just winning multiple belts, it's winning multiple belts in different weight classes now. The bar has changed on how we see these champions. So I think for him, his legacy would have to go up as well.
Yeah, that's what usually gets more eyes on you. You keep going up, collecting belts. Nobody's touching Manny Pacquiao. I think Manny Pacquiao was champion in 8 different divisions. I don't see that record being broken, but you got some notable fighters at higher weight classes. I don't know if he could get all the way up to 135. That's where Stevenson and those guys at now, Tank and Stevenson. I don't know if Inoue could handle that. He's 30. He's already 31. So
yeah, I don't see that either. But maybe, the money's there. And if he puts on the weight right, instead of like doing it overnight, he has to get a couple fights up there. But again, I don't know if his power will go up there. He had a tough time knocking this. He didn't even knock this guy out. So,
yeah.
At two weight classes up, it's going to be tougher.
Yeah, well, definitely going up to 126 that would be featherweight. I think that would be a good start to see, test this medal, see what happens up there. So we'll see. But still dominant. Was fighting over there in Japan, and I heard that he draws well out there. So he's been fighting a little bit more over here too. So maybe he keeps mixing it up, and his star power will continue to rise. But fellas, let's talk about the festivities that happened in Vegas this past weekend. Super fight, Canelo versus Crawford, and I was out there. I flew out there Friday. Got there Friday night. I didn't do much on Friday. I basically just chilled. A homeboy, Chris Rucker, who I do Boot to the Face. He got there late Friday night, but we didn't get up until the next day. Went to the casinos, did a little drinking. Chris was gambling. I hadn't gambled it. So I've been to Vegas like 3 times this year. I hadn't gambled out there in a while. I like to hold on to my money. I had a little strategy on on the roulette wheel at a few years back, but I hadn't tested it in a while. But it was a good time out there, and watched some college football. I know you said you watched some too, Chris. Chris's girlfriend and her best friend sent the guys out to Vegas while they were doing like a raft trip. So Chris had like one of his girlfriend's best friends, his husband was out there too, and he was a South Carolina fan. He's from South Carolina, so we got that. Got the bond in that aspect of us rooting at Gamecocks. The Gamecocks didn't fare well though. It was sad. Sellers got a concussion, so that wasn't good. But yeah, so we were hanging out, and I kind of branched off. I don't know what they ended up doing, but I branched off and caught an Uber all to Allegiant Stadium, and man, that's nothing like I ever experienced as far as like sporting events. Like it's nothing like a big boxing night, big boxing feel. Everybody was dressed to the nines. Just that it was just like a different vibe in the air, different aura out there, so to speak, as the kids would say. And yeah, I mean, stadium packed. Like I said, everybody was dressed to the nines. A lot of anticipation building up to the fight. Yeah, it's a big fight when you got Buffer out there. Let's get ready to rumble. All right. Got me a few drinks, enjoyed the fight. Had good seats. I wasn't ringside, but I was like on level 1, so got to experience everything. And yeah, I don't know if y'all have ever. Of course, Chris, I know you've been to boxing, but I don't know if you got to experience boxing before, Steve. But if you haven't, I recommend. Like I said, it's a different vibe because I've been to NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC. I've been in a lot of UFC. Even UFC didn't have like the aura and the vibe of just being at a big boxing fight, and like just the presentation and all of that good stuff. So yeah, man, I highly recommend anybody listening to go check out big match if they can in their cities. But I don't know, y'all think with the turnout to this, y'all think that we'll see more stadium shows in the future? Because you don't see boxing go to stadiums. I think Spence and Crawford were at Cowboys, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken. But y'all think we may see more stadium fights in the future?
Well, they got to make the fights we want to see to get it done. You know how boxing don't make the fights we want to see to get it done. If they start making these fights instead of waiting us 3 or 4 years to make these fights, but You know, shout out to Crawford because he's been calling these guys out for years, and you know, when he gets these fights, he can put them in stadiums, and that's what we want to see from our fighters right now. So they just gotta give us the fights we want to see. They can fill up all these stadiums.
What about you, Steve? You think we see more stadium fights in the future?
Definitely, I think it would be a success. And me personally, I would like to know which venues you'll probably go through to basketball venues, or what's the difference between a basketball venue and a football stadium venue?
Basketball holding about 18 to 20. Football is holding like 60, 80.
A lot more. Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah.
And to me, it seemed like it was filled out to me from what I was watching.
Yeah, it was filled out. Like I didn't see any empty sections from my knowledge, but Chris, you think a guy like Jake Paul with the right opponent could fill up a stadium right now?
Why you got to do that to me right now? Why you got to do that to me right now? He can. He actually can. Him versus Mayweather, I think can get it done. Him versus Pacquiao, I think can get it done. Him versus Bud. Him versus Canelo. And you know, I'm throwing my name in there too. Him versus me. We can all get it done.
Okay. Before I get my thoughts, Steve, you think Jake Paul could fill out a stadium with the right opponent?
Possibly the right opponent. Like I said, some certain people that are the only way he'll pull it off is somebody that's close enough, still relevant in the boxing realm. And anybody that's not relevant, the only person not in the boxing active that would be relevant is Mayweather. And I think he's occupied about something if you speak on it later. But I don't see him filling up anybody unless it's a Canelo or somebody he has to market for, somebody that people would want him to lose more of anybody that he's choosing, somebody old and seeing the results. Most likely he would get that win. You would have to really challenge yourself on the opponent.
Going back to what you said, Chris, I don't know if him and Crawford would do. They would definitely do sell out T-Mobile in a heartbeat, but I don't know if they'll do a whole stadium. I think him and Canelo could definitely do it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, because you got more eyes on Crawford because now he's unbeat to consider head monsters that, you know, that would look unbeatable or look hard to beat. So now he's gravitated more fans to look at him, and now we respect his boxing technique a little bit more. So for him to get that fight for Jake, you know, people are gonna be, oh, he's definitely gonna lose this one, right? So you're gonna want to see it, if anything. So he might can sell that one out. I know Bud always had a problem. They always said he can't sell. But every time he gets those big fights, he shows up. He does not disappoint at all. And I think in Jake, me and Jake could sell it out. I'll get the promotion right now. Let's go do it. You know what I'm saying? So Bud can sell it out now, but I think he can do it. Especially now, today. Yeah, he can do it today.
I don't know. I'm a little bit weary on that, a little bit skeptical, but I definitely think Paul and Canelo could. And I don't know if him and Mayweather, like prime Mayweather, of course, but I think people are kind of tired of seeing like the okie doke with these Mayweather exhibitions. So it'd have to be like not a non-exhibition. And even that, I don't know if people are, I think, a little bit, you know, tired of seeing Mayweather, you know, just get the bag. And we know he's probably going to just school Jake Paul in the ring. And him and Pacquiao, I don't know about that one either. Present day Pacquiao, but you never know. Pacquiao still may carry it. I know he's basically carrying the whole nation with him as far as the Philippines. So maybe they show it in droves, because you never know when the last one is going to be, because he's up there in age. But we'll see. I guess we got to see what happens with Tank and Paul to see what venue they put it in. I can't remember if they have announced that already. I know they announced the fight, but I don't know if they announced the venue. So we'll see. But not to bury the lead, to talk about the actual fight. Like I said, he had Busboy doing the intros and kicking the first round off. Both fighters were downloading the info, but I think I gave that first round to Bud. The second round was a chess match as well, but Bud was the more accurate fighter. Round 3, more sparring, could have went either way. And then in that 4th round, I thought Crawford was the more accurate puncher outside that big punch that Canelo landed at the end of the round. And then in the 5th round, Bud was being cerebral, choosing the punches, and I think he stole that round. I think when it started getting the middle fights, the rounds were a lot closer. It's like round 6. I could have thought could have went either way, even though I did give Crawford round 7 and 8 and 9. But in those later rounds, the round 10, not quite the championship round, but Canelo did a good job of actually making it gritty and dirty. But I think Bud still had the better moments. And then in those championship rounds, Bud caught Canelo with that body shot that, gave Canelo cause for pause. And then in that last round, both fighters let their hand go. I think that one could have definitely went either way. But Bud was able to get the comfortable decision. Judges had it maybe a little bit closer than a lot of people had it. It was 16-12, 15-13, and 15-13. Going into this one, I picked Canelo, Steve picked Crawford, and Chris didn't have a pick. He was on the fence. He just gave your thoughts on how either fighter could win the fight. But what were your thoughts on this one? I'll let you kick it off, Chris.
Well, going into the weekend, I started looking at the fights, right? I didn't have homework on Bud losing any fights. So I look at all the fights that Canelo lost. I mean, the first one was he was fighting a veteran fighter, so he got outthought. That he got outplayed, outclassed in that one. I think the next one after that was Mayweather, and then he just got bullied out in another fight where he lost. So I had questionable fights for Canelo for winning. I think Triple G won the first fight against him. That's just my opinion. And I don't know about the Laura fight being the way it went for him. I thought he got outboxed in the Laura fight as well. So when I was looking at that, putting that all in consideration, I thought Bud was, at the end of the day, just a little bit, he will win those moments. Like, he will win those moments unless Canelo's going to, because when I kept, basically, let me get back to it. When I would sit the face off and I see them really next to each other, and then I watched the Mayweather fight again, the media and everybody makes it sound like Canelo's this big guy, this big, strong guy. In reality, he's not. He's not really a big, strong guy. Like, when the Mayweather fight versus him, it almost seemed like Mayweather was almost bigger than Canelo in a sense. Like, maybe not strength-wise, but height-wise, and the way he's moving in there, and the way that him and Bud were just standing off, it might be just an inch off. So to me, I was like, oh, Bud got a really good chance if he keeps the distance. And he's closest thing I ever seen to Floyd. If anything, maybe less defense, but offensive-wise, he got Pretty Boy Floyd offense in him. So just to see what we saw, man, he just won every moment that he needed to win. Like, when it got dirty, he looked better being dirty. He was more on point. The jab was working. The counters were just I couldn't even see him coming. Just all the counters that he's done. He looked like he was ready. He's prime. He studied the game, and he looked like Bud should look.
Steve?
Yeah, amazing win for Bud. What I saw from him, as far as in past Canelo fights, you would see him a lot of time assert his dominance with his power, get him to hurt his opponent. And this one, Crawford pretty much stayed with it. Was able to move around, pop around, find his shots. But when he was forced to engage, he asserted his dominance with 3-punch combinations and getting out of there and looking better in those exchanges. I've seen certain people, which it's hate, they say he was running, but I don't think he was running at all. He was picking his shots. And like I said before, and when it was time to engage, he didn't back off like Canelo does with his other opponents and gets in, grinds his teeth and tries to get a few combinations off. But by the time Canelo was getting combinations off, Crawford wasn't there, and, was unable to get a few off himself. So I think that was the whole fight all together, and could be arguably, Crawford could possibly win all those rounds if, depending, I'm not trying to show favoritism, but it seemed like he was doing a good job and doing more than Canelo all rounds, personally.
Do you think the judges scored it closer than the actual fight was? I'll let you start off, Chris.
The eye test says so. I mean, we all watched the fight. It didn't look that close when we was watching it. It looked like Bo was in control. He controlled how this fight's really gonna go. I would say 9 rounds. He was pretty much in control on how this fight was going. Like he won every moment that took place. Like he won every moment. Maybe Canelo won a few, but for the most part, our eye test showed us what was going on. He controlled the distance. It was like I said, Mayweather. It was like a Mayweather performance. Like we've seen these guys, like him and Bud, show us how they can control the fight. If they want to get down, they want to throw punches. It's on their, it's what they want to happen, not because you got them in that situation. It's like, all right, we're gonna throw punches right now because I want to.
What about you, Steve? You think the judges scored it a little bit closer than it actually was?
I can say, but. Even then, yeah, I think that's a hard question because I feel like Canelo won most of the rounds.
Really?
Yeah, most. I mean, not Canelo. I'm sorry, Crawford won most of the rounds, and so saying that, I don't know, but I will say one thing. Just looking at Canelo's body language, if you can tell he was frustrated with Crawford and didn't get the punches that he wanted. But as far as your question, I can say Crawford made sure he did the job to, if they gave him a few rounds, he had it in the bag.
And this is why when we did the pre-show, this is why I thought Canelo would win, but he just didn't do enough because they got who the judges had him win in 5 rounds. I didn't see that with my own eyes. With my own eyes. So Canelo just didn't do what I thought he would need to do to like win the fight. Because if he would have thrown like a couple more power punches and make Crawford stun and like pause a little bit, like the steal rounds, judges would have definitely gave him the decision. But he didn't do enough. He didn't. I mean, shout out to Crawford for not letting them touch him like that. But all he needed to do is touch him a few times at the end of some of these rounds, and he probably would have stole a fight. I don't trust judging. I don't trust the judging in boxing or combat sports in general. So,
that's what you said, man. We got to give Crawford more love because he knew that. He didn't even allow that to be an option. Like he made sure he got out of harm's way. Like I said, it was mostly on his terms. Like if we're gonna throw down right now, it's because I want to throw down with you, not because I'm letting you throw down with me. Because sometimes we see Canelo fights and you see him get in the corner, he puts his gloves up and he let the defender punch him. Crawford doesn't do any of that. Like, no, you touch me when I let you touch me, or if I want to exchange with you. But no, he didn't let that happen. That wasn't going to be the case.
So Canelo is on a lot of people's all-time great list, but hindsight is always 20/20. Do you think this is a case of him being more of like a big puncher than just like a pure boxer, Chris?
No, I think he actually got way better as a fighter. Like, I give him, like to me, I think he lost the Triple G fight, the first one, but I think they fought 2 times after that. Yeah. He was insanely a lot better. Like I seen the improvement just from those fights, and every fight we seen him get improved. His boxing technique has got way better. He's throwing combinations. He's not looking for the one-hitter quitter. He went against one of the toughest guys in the game, if not probably one of the best boxer technology when it comes to just knowing the skills of the science of it. He went against one of the guys that can teach it for days. So it's no knock to Canelo. I think what his biggest fear was for taking this fight probably did happen because it kind of didn't really do anything for his career if he was to win or lose. I think losing hurts him a lot more than if Bud was to lose, to be honest with you. So he had more to lose, but he got a good purse out of it. So I don't see why he could be upset today.
Good is an understatement. I think he got 100 million to Canelo. I mean, to Crawford's 10 million. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. But yesterday's price isn't today's price. So I'm sure Crawford's going to be getting a increase in pay for his next one. He'll be getting a raise, so to speak. But before we go back to Canelo, we got to talk about the winner of this. And I hate having these conversations, but this is what these kind of shows are for. Where do y'all put Crawford and the all-time greats as far as fighters go? I'll let you kick this one off, Chris.
All time?
Yeah, all time. I mean, undefeated. He went up 2 weight classes to fight. This is at super middleweight, so 168. Went from 154. He only fought like once at 154. Got a belt down there. He's his bread and butter is at 147 at welterweight, and he went up all the way up to 168 to face an all-time great. So this puts him in another conversation as far as all-time boxers. Where do you put him at?
The decade all-time boxer, I'll give him that, of this decade, of this era. I think he's the best boxer of this era for sure. All time, man, it's just tough. You know, we talk about different eras. Unfortunately, not to knock on him, but he was blackballed in the beginning of his career, right? You know, being what camp he was and other camps not joining his camp. So we didn't get all the fights we should have got from him. His resume should be way longer. And I think he would have won those fights as well. But we didn't really get a lot of the good fights into the last, 7 years of his career. So it's really hard to put him on there, even though he has fought really good fighters, but it's really hard to put him on there when other fighters fought. Their resume is a little bit deeper. That's all I'm gonna say.
Steve, where you put Crawford in as far as pantheon of all-time greats?
Like I said, out of all, I mean, that's a whole list of fighters of comparison. But like Chris said, as far as we were just talking about it, the last exciting fight that's been in the last 10 years, or actually we said the last one 15 years. The last one I can far see is maybe Mayweather. And you know, we had the fights in between, the Tyson Fury and all that, but I can say as far as Crawford's resume and pound for pound, I can say definitely past 15 years, but all time, you know, that's a whole nother podcast I think we have to do on that one.
So just looking at his record, like you said, Chris, maybe the resume is not all the way there, but if you look at it, he's beaten a Jeff Horn who beat Pacquiao, even though that was controversial. Jose Benavidez, David Benavidez' older brother, Amir Khan, we know the buzz Amir Khan had back in the day. Sean Porter, who's no slouch.
The time he got Amir Khan, everybody was knocking on Amir Khan at that time. Out to Amir Khan. I like Amir Khan too. Shout out to him.
And but then, go ahead.
It's like what you're naming right there, right? You're not hearing, you know, multiple world champions. Like, he didn't get the fights that we wanted. Even Earl Spence was almost a bag fight for him. Like, he had a fight to get that fight. The Canelo, he had a fight to. He's been blackballed into this. They're not giving him these fights. They're not saying, "Hey, give this guy these fights." He has to show up and fight for everything he got. That's why I respect it. But it's just hard for him because there's a list full of fighters. They should have got it going, especially they was fighting each other at the time. He was on that list, but nobody wanted to step up to him because it's promotion. So just bad, just bad for boxing right there. But he's able to show off now.
But like, I get what you're saying, but like, who was there really for him? What you got, like maybe Keith Thurman, maybe like what the, I don't know if the name.
Well, we had that. So I always bring it up. I was at Hollywood gym. What is it? What Freddie Roach gym. I can't even think about it.
Yeah, I know you're talking about though. Yeah.
I was over here when I first moved out to Cali, right? I was in there about to continue my amateur career. I go downstairs. That's what mostly all the pros. It's like a private thing down there. Freddie takes me down there. He's like, "Hey, this is before I even really know who Crawford really is, to be honest with you. I heard of him, but I really don't know who he is." He's like, "There's only one more fight I want Pacquiao to do. And this is the best fighter I've seen in the last 10 years. And he says Crawford. And I'm like, who's Crawford, right? I make that face like, who's Crawford? He said, yo, this kid's one of the best fighters. This is the fight that he needs to take. And, I want him to get that fight. He don't need to be fighting no more. Now, at this time, Pacquiao's already fought like 9 more people after this. But at this time, he's making a big deal about this kid Crawford. I'm like, who is this guy? I never heard of him in my life. But then to come out to find out he is a world champion, he's done all this, but he's just been blackballing the game. Like I'm telling you, like, you know, he hasn't been able to go after all those belts and get up. He would have got all this earlier, to be honest. That's what I'm trying to get to. He would have got all of this a lot earlier if it wasn't for promotions. It wasn't for, you know, them he always had to be the B card into a lot of things. Being that he's a better fighter and he has to go in there knowing that he's gonna be the B that's insane. And that's where a lot of things come in for him. That's what's messed up about the game.
So yeah, like the Pacquiao, when Pacquiao was still in his prime, I mean, because Crawford is our age, so in the mid 2010s or early 2010s, if that fight would have happened. But then if you think about it, if he would have got it before the Mayweather fight, he probably would have beat Pacquiao, and we probably wouldn't have seen the Mayweather fight. And if he would have got it after the Mayweather fight, it was like Mayweather already beat him. So is it kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place as far as the Pacquiao fight though?
Well, no, it wasn't just, I'm not just saying that. That's just an example on how, like, you know, how good he's respected in the boxing world, but he wasn't able to get those fights. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's like, I didn't even know who he was, but then when I figure out who he was and I saw that, I think the Gamboa fight, and that was the first time I ever saw a boxer switch from right hand. He's left-handed the whole fight against Canelo.
Yeah, southpaw. He was southpaw.
He's right-handed. When he got robbed by Gamboa, he turned left and never looked back because he outboxed him with left-handed. I've never seen nothing like that. To go into a fight knowing that your opponent is not the best against left-handed, I'm just going to go left-handed the whole time. When he's right-handed naturally, that's insane. That's insane. He didn't even go on his power hand. Think about that, guys. He was really left-handed the whole fight. He didn't even go right once, and he's right-handed. He's a right-handed fighter. That's the difference about Crawford. Like, his skill levels on both hands are just insane.
Yeah, that's why we need to have a conversation like all-time greats. I hate having these hypotheticals, but you think Crawford would fare well, both him and Mayweather in their primes? You think Crawford would fare well in that fight?
I think, unfortunately, Mayweather would figure out how to beat him.
Why do you think that?
I think Mayweather's defense is a little bit, I think the way they judge it for Mayweather is a little bit different. I think the judging for a Mayweather fight is tough to judge to see if you can take advantage of him. I think they judge you on his defense. They don't judge you on what you do, because he doesn't outpunch you. He doesn't out power shot you. He doesn't outdo jab you or nothing. Like most of the fighters out throw way more punches than him. So I think it's just hard to beat him when they already have a grade system for him to lose, and it's hard to get over that grade system. That's the reason why.
What do you think, Steve?
For Crawford's argument, I don't think Mayweather, so to speak, fought a so to speak a switch hitter like Crawford. Not that I remember it. And if somebody would, you know, switch stances, it would probably be for a punch, you know. But I think it takes a little bit time to figure out somebody who fights with both hands, or you're able to extend the mind game a little bit longer within the fight. And I think it may come down to scoring, but possibly might end up, you know, leaving a shot open that for Crawford, because I can't remember if Mayweather fought somebody who switched both sides. So I think that would bring new difficulty to Mayweather's, you know, as far as fighting somebody with a style new.
Yeah. And I don't know. I may be with Chris just because Mayweather, all-time defensive fighter, and he's always been good at downloading information. But I wouldn't see it out of the possibility of Crawford being able to edge it out, but I just think Mayweather, a prime Mayweather like 07, 08 would be able to solve that puzzle. But you never know. But yeah, I definitely think as far as welterweights, you definitely got to put Crawford in top 5. Like, Chris, how you think you fare well? It's like a Sugar Ray Leonard.
I think he can get him overall.
Yeah.
I don't know Sugar though. They be throwing a lot of punches. I don't know. They was throwing a lot of punches back then. That's the thing about it. They're tough era. That's one of the toughest eras to judge.
Like him, the Hagler, and the Leonard.
Yeah, because they threw a lot of punches, and they were going 16 rounds or something like that.
Hitman Hers.
It was a different game, a different grind. They wanted to fight, so it's hard to go against them because, not saying Mayweather mess up everything, but we need to get back to boxing. Who cares about the O or not the O? We need to get back to the fighting because that's what those guys did. They care about winning. They just want to go out there and fight. There's a fight out there, Now the money's so big, I think everybody can risk it now. There's so much money on the table. You don't have to be scared. You can make money off this person, make money off that person, make money off this person. There's so much money on the table.
Yeah, there's definitely money to go get there. But like you said, people are too focused on image and marketability and not losing. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see things shift in the future. But Steve, how you think Crawford fare out against those 80s cats like Leonard and Hearns and Hagler and Duran and all those guys?
Like I said, man, it was a whole different ball game back in the day. You almost had to fight to keep your brand up because there was 5-6 people in division on each other's back. So you just sitting back, you automatically be called out as, why aren't you as active as these other fighters? Saying that, I mean, like you said, and in 15 rounds, which, Crawford looked very well conditioned, but, and I don't know, then probably fighting more frequently because you have other people on your tail. I don't know. I think it'll be very hard for Crawford to fight a lot of these past fighters, Tommy Hearns and all those other people, Robert Duran, and I think he would have troubles a lot, but I think he would fare his own too, as his own generational fighter too.
Yeah, them dudes at this level was fighting three times a year. These guys at this level today maybe fight once, if you're lucky, twice a year. It's a different ball game. Like these guys are always in the gym prepared.
And I think I'll give Canelo credit. He's pretty active. I don't think it's a contractual thing. I think he basically took over Mayweather's model once Mayweather retired, because it's usually always Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence. So you get at least twice a year. But a lot of these other guys, like you said, only fight like once a year, which is insane. But yeah, I just think like with these conversations, even if you're talking about basketball, a lot of people talk about LeBron and Jordan. I think Crawford, he's got better technology available to him and training and all that. So that's why I think you would get that. But if you put him back then, if he had the same type of training, those guys, I don't know. So that's why these conversations are kind of hard to have, just because of the time and age and technology and training and all of that good stuff. So it's kind of hard to tell. But going back to Canelo, so when he fought Mayweather, people said he was too young. He was a baby. When he lost to Bivol, too big and too strong. He let a guy come up 2 weight classes to beat him. So, like, where does Canelo go from here? And what's the narrative on him now, Chris?
Well, I was trying to figure out the narrative for Canelo the last 2 years, to be honest with you. I don't even know what Canelo, like, where is Canelo? He's like where can you, like, he's fighting in all different weight classes. He's going up, going down. I mean, he's catching the bag, good for him, but I don't like, he's just a real true fighter. That's what I'm seeing right now. He's a real true fighter. But I really don't know where it goes up from this, because he could have retired 2 years ago. He would have been set, like, in legacy. He's still going to be set, losing to Bud in legacy. I just don't know where to go. Like, what else is there for him to do in the boxing world? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what else is there for you to do? I don't know.
Well, I don't even know how to answer that. But Steve, same question. Like, what's the narrative behind him now that he lost this, like, almost like legacy fight?
Well, that's a good question, because I think from his actions, I think he's doing that as far as going up in weight class and losing to Bivol. And I think that was an attempt on trying to find or test itself on a new narrative, because it's not like he can't go the undefeated route. And then he was winning fights for a long time, but lost against Bivol. So it's like, and then he just lost this one. So I think he's in a hard place right now. And I don't know. I don't think maybe he can always find a fight, but I don't think there's nobody marketable enough as far as him to be tier to tier with or question if there's a somebody, because whatever Crawford does, it's going to be there's somebody out there that beats you, that if within your weight class, and especially somebody coming up. So I don't know. That's a hard question.
I got the same question for both of y'all with Crawford as well. I don't know what Crawford could do after this.
Yeah, and I want to get to that in a little bit.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good. Before we get into that, though, so looking back, like I said earlier, hindsight is always 20/20. But looking back at Canelo, where's his signature win at? You can say Triple G, but like you said, except the last one, the third one, he watched Triple G. But the first one, people thought he lost. I thought it was a draw. It ended up being a draw. Second one was controversial as well. I think I gave that one to Canelo, but a lot of people thought that one was a draw. The second one, where
that one was actually the draw to me, to be honest with you.
And then the third one, he watched them. So like, where's the signature win at, Chris? Besides Triple G, because you can't take that away from him.
I mean, his legacy's built different, right? He has a different type of legacy. We got to look at what he's done, right? We have to look at the route he took, the different weight classes he's went up and fought and won. He has, to me, a true Mexican background in boxing. When I said what I said a few minutes ago, I don't know what's next for him. I do know what's next for him. He's going to keep fighting. That's what Mexican fighters do. They go for 200 fights. They go for 300 fights. They keep fighting every day. They don't stop fighting. So that's what his legacy is, just to keep fighting people. He lose nothing. The Mexican the fan base loves their fighters. So every time there's a new person for him to fight, they're going to all show up. They're all going to represent. Just like Chavez. Chavez has over 100-some fights, and they didn't care who he fought against, if he won or not lose. But they're gonna always show up for him. So I think he's gonna have that same thing, just fight everybody he can, and that's it.
So before this fight got made, the narrative was he was avoiding the Mexican monster, David Benavidez. Now that he's lost to somebody that was way less than him, a smaller fighter, I definitely don't think he'll face David Benavidez now. I don't think he wants that smoke. But if I had to put y'all feet to the fire and I had to make y'all name the next opponent for Canelo, just your prediction, who do you think that he fights next?
Well, that was the fight I was talking. You just named it. I don't know what else would you do. Who else would you go? I think you named it. I even heard the Arab dude that got these fights going. He tweeted that Benavidez can get down back to this weight to fight either of these guys, and he had a picture of Crawford waiting to fight him and stuff like that. So that'd been interesting to me. But he's one of the guys I think either of these fighters can take on. I think he's a little too. How tall? He's like 6'2", 6'1"? Huh?
Yeah, somewhere around that ballpark.
He does seem a little too big for them, to be honest with you. But he didn't look good going up in weight on his last fight to me. I don't remember.
Yeah. I think 168 is where he should be at when he's gone up to light heavyweight 175. I think those guys are a little bit too big for Benavidez.
Yeah, he ain't look so great. He ain't have that same that he has at the 168. So I think he's one of the he's the guy that they should be talking to.
Yeah. If you had to predict, Steve, who you think Canelo may fight next?
That's a hard question. Let's see. I really don't know. Like you said, he went up in class and didn't do pretty well, so I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to do that. 168, of course, Crawford just won that. I can't even think of anybody within that weight class, or I almost said somebody would else probably have to offer if they would want to. I mean, Errol Spence is just laundering around. We're wondering what he's doing, if he'll stay in weight class or even challenge something upper weight class. Maybe he can entertain something with that. I just don't know any big enough names for Canelo.
I know what. I don't know if this will happen, but I could see it happening. Him waiting around, see what happens in November with Tank and Paul, and if
and get that big bag.
I don't think he'll fight Tank, of course, but even if Paul loses, I think why not make that fight? Them both coming off losses, and if somehow Paul could shot the world and get a win, which I don't. Spoiler alert! I know we'll predict the fight when it actually is going to happen, but I don't see Paul winning that fight off of first impression. Even if Paul wins, then why not Canelo that? Do the circus fight, get your bag, you get another 100 million. Netflix, I'm sure, will pick it up, and I could, for some reason, I see that fight happening next for Canelo. It's like you said, Chris. Like, what's the point? His legacy's pretty much set.
I don't know. Maybe in this era he might get it done, but I just think his fan base, I don't know if they want to see him fight. I don't know if they want to see that. He's real, respectfully, he's real Mexican. You know what I'm saying? Like, he lives down there. He's real Mexican. So I don't see him fighting unless he already got a big bag. He's been getting bags for years. So I just don't see it. Right now, I don't see it. I think he could fight another upcoming person. I can see that more. Because I think he fought like earlier this year, a year ago, he fought that Mexican kid. I forgot who he was, a young fighter.
Who's it? Canelo? Canelo fought him?
Yeah, he wasn't really that big. He was a strong gentleman.
Edgar Berlanga?
Yeah, people like that, I can see him fight. Just coming up the ranks, strong, has a good, resume to him, and they could fight that. I could see him do more of that and just add on more wins to his legacy, but then fighting Jake Paul, then I see him just going out of boxing after that point.
Yeah, I definitely think he should give it his team, do the analytics and see what's best for his career, because he doesn't have to. But like you said, I think pride, the Mexican pride, he just wants to keep going forward, because even though he's old in boxing years and life, I think he's only like 35, 34, so he's not too old. So I guess we just have to wait and see. But you touched on it earlier, Chris. You think Crawford may be able to get in there with Benavidez. I don't see that. I think Benavidez is just too big. So besides like a Benavidez, like, who do you see him maybe mixing it up with next?
That's another thing for Crawford. I don't know. Like, what's pointless? Everything else is like pointless at this point. He could be looking at retirement. Crawford's a little older.
Yeah,
right. 30, he could be looking at that could have been his last big bag and try to get out of here and get that legacy fight. I don't see what else is there for him to fight. There's nothing there.
Yeah, his birthday's right around the corner. The 28th, he'll be 38. So I may have an idea, but what do you think, Steve? Like, you have any opponent in mind for Crawford next?
I wouldn't have a clue. But speaking on as far as fights, I would say Gervonta opened the door to make it okay for active fighters, because if an active fighter didn't fight Jake Paul, it would look like the washed up games, where somebody's retired or old. But since Gervonta's fighting, I think, that would leave an opening for definitely Canelo.
But didn't he quote unquote retire?
Yeah, but I think he came back already, and they named the fight with him and Paul.
But retire. But he retired from boxing itself.
I don't.
Because that was a problem if I'm not mistaken, that's how he got out the deal from fighting the rematch. So I think he had to either get the rematch going or retire from the sport and give it up. And I think that's what he did. And then he just went the other route. Because he's been flirting with retirement for the last 2 years anyway. Like, there's almost no more fights for Tank to be taken anyway. There's almost no one there anyway. Besides, like, fighter.
You still got the Stevenson fight.
They got really one fight there for him. So he's been flirting with that for a while. I know that.
I thought, for some reason, I I may be wrong. I thought the reason why he retired is because the legal stuff that was going on.
That too. That was. I mean, he had a bad month. He got in a draw fight. He got in a little, altercation, and he got arrested. And just everything went bad. So it's a bad month.
I can't see the fight with him and Paul being an actual professional fight. It's got to be an exhibit. Just the weight differences. I don't see.
Yeah, I think it's like how they do it, like 2 minutes. Oh, I hate exhibition fights. I used to fight those. Oh, I hate them. 2 minutes. They go by so quick. Can't. The time you hug somebody and get out of it is over. So it's a really quick fight. We saw it in the Mike Tyson and all of them. So it doesn't really last long.
One fight I think is still out there for Crawford. We still hadn't seen it. It's just right there on the table. Him and the Charlos, especially Jermell, little Charlo.
Oh yeah. They be talking crazy, but I don't. But see, here's the thing. Yeah, it's there on the table. Trash talking. It don't feel like it's gonna resonate for like us to watch though. Like they're not like we seeing different levels of this now. Like we know like it don't seem like, not saying no disrespect to the boys, but Crawford's on a different level, guys. Relax.
Yeah, but I just think that's a way you could get away with it.
Yeah, you got some. And there's another. Who's that kid that's always calling out Crawford? Who's that kid?
Boots Ennis.
Yeah, he kind of like trying to say he's slippery like Crawford a little bit. I seen him 1 or 2 of his fights. I mean,
Boots Ennis. I think that's what.
I mean, you can get that off as well. That's an opportunity to get off.
Yeah, and Crawford's in an interesting situation because going up 2 weight classes that opens up a lot more fights. Because Big Charlo is at 168, so even though he had the beef with Little Charlo, he could easily market it as him defending his brother, and both of them talk trash. Boots Ennis, like it's a couple fights, but outside of that, like I said, it's not. He's pretty much done it all. He could go off in the sunset and retire, but when you're on the road, it's hard to retire, especially if you're getting bags. Like I can see if you're like starting to decline. It doesn't look like Crawford's declining at all. So I'd be surprised if he just sits there and just says, "I'm done." Sometimes you got to know when to hold him, know when to fold him. Though it's the perfect time if he would want to, but like retirement, if he still got it in you, if you feel like you still got it in you, people are competitive as far as sports in general, and especially combat sports. So I don't know. I don't see him retiring, but like I said, with Canelo, I think him and his team will sit down and see what's the best, way to get the bag. Like you said, Turkey Al-Sheikh's throwing out bags. Maybe you should come out of retirement, Chris.
I'm saying, I'll get y'all some training outfits. Y'all go. We all get a bag. Come on, we can all do this.
So before we get on there, one more thing. I saw this came across my news feed. You had Timothy Bradley in the news because going back to what you said, Chris, Crawford's no spring chicken, so he's a more quiet guy. I just think the way he went about things, like as far as like when people want to see athletes go out there, just go in there and handle business, but that might not have been the best thing marketing wise. He's 37, he's pretty much. I want to say like I said, it looks like he's still pretty much in his prime, but a lot of his good years are behind him. Timothy Bradley was interviewed. He said he believes Shakur Stevenson is the guy to step in Terence Crawford's shoes and takes the throne as the next like all-time great fighter. So as far as young fighters, who do you two see being like the face of like the next generation or like the Gen Z generation? I'll let you kick it off, Chris.
Stevenson should be in there. There's that weird pool of gentlemen in that 140, 145 that can fight each other. I think he needs to go over there and just start, going up a weight class and start getting these guys up out of there, like the David Haney's and the Ryan Garcias. Yeah, they might not have any belts or anything, but you know what? You gotta take out those dogs. You gotta take out the A-, the B+ dogs out first. Get some resume, get some names on your resume that we can all put something to. And then, big fights will come his way. And that's how it all goes down. When Spence was looking for people, I remember no one wanted to fight Spence until he got a belt. And then he was getting fights all the time. Crawford kind of the same way, but again, promotion wise. But yeah, once he starts getting, getting that other pool, start knocking those guys out, or just beating them convincingly, then we can see that happen. He has the skills, he has the talent. No one's gonna take that away from him. We just gotta see the fights.
Who would you say, Steve, as far as putting their like stamp on being like the face of the next generation, like the Gen Z type generation?
I can definitely say Shakur Stevenson, and also he had a little small blemish, or he was caught cheating, but a blemish of looking human as far as you market somebody, like a Mayweather, don't get a knockdown of Devin Haney. He had that blemish with that fight, but got it overturned. But I would have to say it boils down to performances and matchups and during that matchup, you prove the performance of whatever's being motivated that you're going to lose. And it seems like, Shakur, he's proven his last fight, be it convincingly and, prove the critics wrong and fought exactly what they said he wouldn't. But we have to have memorable fights, and that will get you, so to speak, to the next level of getting these fights that everybody can talk about for the next 5 years. And I think that they have to build a prospect coming up to get to that level. Because unless you're a true boxing fan, or like boxing, some of these people that household names that people wouldn't really know in the house, but of course we know them, but it's not being grazed as so much as a, so to speak, like a Crawford right now, or a Mayweather, what we've heard. I feel like they're still under the radar and they need a big performance.
I got a name that you guys probably don't know. Yeah, he actually cool with Stevenson. They're actually really good friends. He's from Brooklyn. We call him Africa. They call him the Hitman Henderson. He just fought what's his name for a belt in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, he just won a belt. I like him. He's always been, he's in that 140, that 145 range. He's very slippery. He's been in camps with Stevenson. He's been in camps with Tank and all of them. Those are his people. Those are friends. So I can't see them really fighting each other. They're very, very tight, very cool. But he talks crazy. That's what I like about him. He talks crazy, and he backed it up. He backs it up. He's coming out now. He had his come out party, I would say, a month or two ago in Brooklyn. He won a belt against a well-known fighter. I can't think of the guy's name, but we've seen, if I can find his name, he is. And he's calling out all of them. Devin Haney calling out all of them, and he wants smoke. He wants all the smoke. And I think he's another guy where he is kind of slippery because he's been in the ring with the Stevensons and the rest of them. So he's very slippery. Went to the Olympics. This guy's really tough. So, there's something that I can see as a young kid coming up. He's going to be something special. You can just see it in him. He's already slippery. He's knocking out people. He's going to be something special. I'm not just saying that because, I know him. I'm saying it because the skills are there.
Yeah, so we'll definitely keep an eye out on him. I think I'll go in a different direction as far as like maybe putting their stamp on being the face of the next generation. I'm going to go in the heavyweight division. Álvarez Jr., the kid out of the UK, he was on a big card most recently. He's like on an undercard, but he's only 22, got power. I think that's the glamour division. So that's the division that if somebody wants to step up and be that face of boxing, because everybody wants to gather on TV for a heavyweight fight, or big baby Jared Anderson, like he's only 26 or so.
Yeah.
But he just lost. He lost, but he won after that. If he steps into that role now that you got some of these other guys aging out and take the mantle, heavy, like I said, another heavyweight. He's from America, so always capture that audience and just be the one to step up and be that next face of boxing. But now that I think about it, why do you think that American fighters can't sell really, unless you are braggadocious and see, and it's like a catch-22 because if you are braggadocious, people will say you're too cocky. I want to see you lose. But if you go about your business and quiet and just win, then you're labeled boring like a Crawford. Because the last person that we seen that just went out there and fought and wasn't like super braggadocious probably was like the Tyson era. Tyson wasn't like the most slick talker on the mic. He said crazy stuff, but he wasn't like Mayweather on the mic. And like Mayweather was the last big American fighter that sold pay-per-views, and he was, you know, how good he was on the mic and trash talking, but then he's labeled cocky. But why don't you think that Americans could really sell just going out there and fighting nowadays, Chris?
Well, I don't know if it's just Americans.
Yeah, no,
I think it's a lot of fighters that just can't go out there and you have to.
But if you do, but you look, but my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off. If you look at it though, like other countries, they'll get behind their fight. Like Canelo, he still sells well from Mexico. Pacquiao still sells well, not a huge trash talker from the Philippines. These UK fighters,
let's go back. You know, this is not Mayweather. You know, we got a guy named Muhammad Ali that was on the mic talking crazy. You know, this is stuff that's not new. You know, we come with different style, we come with different skills. You know, Mayweather's not the first guy to do this. You know, he's just one of the top dudes to do it. And you know, if we go back to a guy like Muhammad Ali, you know, everything we hear about him was talking junk. You look at Muhammad Ali now, he's talking junk about his opponents, and that's what's sold.
Ali, yeah, he was probably like the blueprint. Like before that, you didn't really see fighters talking crazy, and a few generations skipped. Mayweather was able to do it, but like I said, Tyson, he said wild stuff, but he wasn't like the best on the mic trash talking. But you also had in the 80s, those guys didn't really talk a lot of trash with Hearns and all of that era we're talking about. Real Deal Holyfield, he was like the biggest talker. He sold. Even Roy Jones wasn't the biggest seller because if you look at his best fight, that's when the era where you actually started to talk trash to sell fights. It was like because Roy, like his best fight sold like 600,000 until the Tyson fight, but that was in 2020.
And you're bringing up boxing has switched, right? We at that time, everybody you named before that time, the big sells were only in the heavyweight category. So what about
those welterweights in the 80s?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But you know, they wasn't like a heavyweight was selling all the time. Like that was a fight to watch every night, every time a heavyweight gets on it. And we kind of in America was missing that for a while. Like, there's no really big heavyweights that we have that we can, Tyson was great for the era. Holyfield and all them was great for the era. But then after that, it kind of died out in the early 2000s. And then we had the Klitschko's over there, I think, winning those titles. And nobody was happy that they was winning it because they just showed up. They did what they're supposed to do and get a whole bunch of wins, right? Then we got a little man named Mayweather go here talking crazy. Now, he brings some excitement. I think trash talking comes with the game. You have to trash talk in it. I mean, you're going out there fighting. I'm not the biggest trash talk either. I don't want to get in a push and shove. I would like to keep it just boxing, but it sells, Like that's why I like AB when he was out there talking crazy. That was one of my favorites, just to hear him go out there and say stuff. But yeah, I think you need a little trash talk. I think Americans come with a little trash talk. I think it's nothing new. I just think, we had the Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, something new. I think we just talk a little bit more.
So to ask you the same thing, Steve, I feel like Americans have a hard time selling fights outside of the trash talk. Because even looking at the UFC side of things, Silva from a different country, he sold fights without trash talking. BSP did. Jones, I think Jones might be an anomaly. He's the only American fighter I can really think that, and he sells, but he's not like on a Conor McGregor type selling. Like a big Jones fight will sell like 900,000, 800,000. I don't know.
Let's go back to UFC. Ain't their biggest draw like Conor McGregor selling all and he's talking shit all the time.
That's true, but you see other American fighters that have the same blueprint but still don't, like a Chael Sonnen or Sean Strickland or Kobe Covington. They try to do the same blueprint, don't sell. I feel like these countries that like Conor McGregor's the perfect storm, the trash talking and being from a different country. These countries will support their fighters. Anderson Silva selling millions of pay-per-views. He didn't trash talk at all. ESP, Canada on his back, selling pay-per-views. I wonder why Americans won't get it behind their fighters unless like almost like anomaly like Mayweather with the trash talking was the perfect storm. People wanted to see him lose. I don't know. And we're the ones that actually drive the pay-per-view market. We're the only country that has pay-per-views, but these other countries, I guess the people that come in and migrate in the country, they get behind their fighters and they actually buy the pay-per-view. Maybe it's this, we steal the pay-per-views. I don't know. Maybe it's Americans or we see it. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
Well, yeah, I can say it has to be a combination of things. Definitely character, your background, and performances. And some of these fighters are better in some areas than the other. You know, Conor had his skills, but then later on, he was able to still get fights, you know, talking crap on the mic. Certain people like Silva, like you said, he had straight performances that kept his popularity and had exciting fights. But as far as character, you know, especially I think maybe later in his career started speaking English. You know, that can be a factor. Somebody being able to speak the language who you're presenting or your brand to, you know, America. And I think all these factors have to be factored in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting to see. I think sometimes it's just lightning in a bottle. You really don't know what'll click and what people will gravitate towards. But most recently, it hasn't been people from in this country that have been selling like that. The Fury and Wilder, I can't remember how much that sold. But on the other side, like I said, the UK people come out for their fighters.
They do.
And
they love them.
And I don't know. I don't think Wilder has sold. Being the A side of things, I don't think he's sold like a lot of pay-per-views. So maybe it's like we know how to steal pay-per-views over here. Maybe that's a factor. And I think it has to be the perfect storm. Like you said, the performance has to be there. It just can't be straight trash talking and you're losing. Like you said, your boy AB, he was on the trajectory of being the next guy, but he just kept losing.
Yeah, that's what happened. And
we'll see. Go ahead, Chris.
Back to them though, you know, we got a lot. You said there's no more fighters out there. You know, a lot of people out the game. But to be honest with you, in the last week and a half, I've been hearing about all these fighters coming back. Like AB's coming back, Paulie's coming back. Who else? I just sent you something about what's his name that was fighting that 12 guy.
Oh yeah, Fundora.
I
think it's Keith Thurman.
Keith Thurman. I haven't seen him in a while. I just saw Errol Spence in the gym talking about he's coming back. So I guess I got to get back in the gym myself. I got to get back out there, guys. I don't know what's going on out here, but yeah, a lot of people coming back. So, Danny Garcia.
Oh, he's coming back.
He got to fight actually against one of my homeboys in the gym that, you know, I seen him work so hard. He finally got his day. His day's been called. You know, this is one of the guys I've been telling you guys about where, you know, they fight on every card. You know, they barely lose. He probably got one loss, if anything. He's like 20-something and 0 or 30-1 or something like that. But, you know, Danny's coming out, fighting Brooklyn. So it's Danny versus Danny, you know, Danny Garcia versus Danny Gonzalez. And should be a good fight. This kid's a really hard-working kid in the gym. So, you know, that's going to be a good fight. I'm happy for him. That's a shout-out to him.
Yeah, shout out to him, man. Yeah, the cream always rises to the top. So somebody will be poking their head out and be able to, you know, take the mantle next. So we just that's why we watch the fights, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, covered a whole lot of things on the show. So coming to the end of the show, thanks everybody for supporting. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms and make sure to follow that YouTube. But we'll be back sometime in the fourth quarter, you know, do another boxing show. You know, this year is coming up to end real fast. I can't believe it's almost 2026. That's crazy, but you know, always got stuff to do with MMA as well. I'll be back next month as well in Vegas. So yeah, just stay tuned and make sure to follow us on all platforms. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 sauce, cause it's lava.